Hi, welcome to Video Games Revisited. Today, we're going to be playing Robot Tank on the Atari 2600.
Released in 1983 by Activision, Robot Tank is similar in style to another Atari 2600 game, Battlezone. It also has a similar story, as you control robot tanks that have been set out on a mission to take down an opposing army of robot tanks, attacking downtown Santa Clara. Graphically, it looks a lot like Battlezone. For example, the terrain sloping off into the distance, the mountains that enclose this area, and even the scrambled static that is present whenever you lose a life. Although Robot Tank takes place from a first-person perspective inside the tank, and gives a nice bobbing motion as you move about that really makes it feel like you are controlling a big hulking tank, instead of the top-mounted viewing turret from Battlezone. Like Battlezone, you'll spend the game hunting down this army of tanks in a large open area, and the gameplay basically consists of pointing your turret at the tanks and shooting them down. However, this game is far from a rip-off of Battlezone, and has many different innovations and important differences to set it apart. For example, the shells you fire from your turret can actually be steered after launch, meaning you can fine-tune and curve each shot, making your shots a lot more effective and taking down more enemy tanks as a result, as they do tend to move about a lot. In fact, enemy fire can actually be shot down using this method, but this is a little risky and also a little bit unnecessary due to a small glitch in the game's programming, as your enemy shots only last as long as they are on screen, so all enemy fire can be avoided simply by turning away from your enemy. And as a result, unless you're very strict to yourself, most of your high scores will be obtained by using this method, which kind of cheapens the gameplay. However, the main changes to the game are attempts by Activision to make the game more realistic. The first thing you'll notice is that Robot Tank has night and daytime conditions, and night and day will fade out roughly every minute or so. The main challenge at night is simply that you can't see your enemies, apart from for a brief moment after they fire, and by relying upon your radar. And whilst this is a great idea, the problem is you can literally see nothing of your enemies unless they are firing, and relying upon the radar, as I just mentioned, isn't a particularly good strategy either, as the tanks move a lot, and quite fast as well. So even with the improved accuracy from being able to guide your shells, it's still a little bit too challenging. Fog, rain and snow weather conditions have also been added, and depending on what you've been given, will affect both the visibility of your enemies and how your tank handles accordingly. For example, when it's snowing, your tank's handling is rather sluggish and you can end up sliding as well. And as expected, when it's foggy, it simply makes it harder to spot your enemies. Now at the bottom of the screen you'll notice the radar I mentioned earlier, and also a few indicators surrounding it. These indicators show the status of your tank and what parts have been damaged due to combat, as unlike Battlezone, your tank takes more than one hit to kill. Now depending on what part of your tank's been damaged, your gameplay will be affected differently. For example, if your video relay is damaged, the camera attached to your tank will black out periodically, meaning you're flying completely blind. If the cannon is damaged, the overall reliability of your weapon will be reduced, meaning not all of your shots will actually fire a shell. If your radar is damaged, it'll simply drop out, meaning you won't know for certain where the enemies are placed unless you're looking directly at them. And finally, if your treads are damaged, the mobility of your tank is reduced. And when your tank finally does blow up and you move on to your next life, all of these hindrances are gone and you start with a completely fresh tank. Now I think it's great that at this stage in gaming history, touches and innovations like this were being included. However, I'm not a big fan of Robot Tank, for the simple reason that there's simply too many of them included, and all too frequently when you're playing Robot Tank, you'll end up with a combination of features that render the game almost unplayable, through no real fault of your own. For example, if it was snowing, your radar had been shot out, and it was also nighttime, the game quickly devolves into a manic pressing of directions and firing in the vain hope that you're going to end up taking out an enemy tank. And it just seems unnecessary to put you through this each time you go to play the game. So in conclusion, at its core, Robot Tank is a great game, and I'm sure the developers had good intentions by including all these nice little extra features. However, the execution of them hasn't been particularly great or graceful, and it really does affect how fun the game is to play. And given the choice between Battlezone and Robot Tank, Battlezone's less is more approach wins out every time. However, I'd recommend giving them both a try and making up your own mind about this, as I know there are a lot of Robot Tank fans out there who will probably disagree with me on this point. But that's about it for now. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Take care.